Hello YouTubers and welcome aboard. I am Noob Flyboy X and welcome back to F1 2018 Career Mode. It is round 19 at the Mexican Grand Prix here, and we're on board right away to get a lap of the circuit done so I can show it off to you. That's the most important thing at the moment, since we've got just about everything else complete at this stage. Here we are in qualifying though. Across the line to start our lap and down the very long front straightaway, which gives our car a good chance of passing some others on this track. Place that we wouldn't really have other opportunities, I guess. But here we go down into the first corner here, very hard braking zone, and we turn to the right, back to the left, and then back to the right again for the second straightaway. Not as long as the first one by any means, but still long enough for the second DRS zone, and another good passing opportunity as we come now to Sector 2. Hard on the brakes once again, and into another tight back and forth section, somewhat reminiscent actually of Baku with the 90-degree corners, into sort of a hairpin, but also sort of just a double right-hander here, coming through one of the stadium sections and onto one of the back sections of the track. This section, like in the US Grand Prix before, has an S's section, which is very technical to navigate in a car with low downforce like the Williams. But we're through there relatively well and on to what can technically be called the back straightaway here into Sector 3. Another hard braking zone, turn to the right and into the second stadium section, the main stadium section. There's a very tight low-speed section through here as we come through towards the end of the lap. One more right-hand corner as we complete the final corner, and back onto the front straightaway here. Important to get a good launch out of there for a good lap time to get across the line. And there we are. There is a lap in Mexico. We're coming through now. I believe this is Q1 or maybe Q2. I'm not actually sure at this point. But in any case, we get the lap done and we're easily through. Coming through again, this looks like it will be in Q3. Sergio Perez does the fastest time. We put in a very good time there, which is actually the fastest at that time. So there we are in qualifying 3, having that completed. We are in 6th place. We are going to get demoted down the grid a ways. We had to make a change to our engine, but that is the last one we'll have to make this season.
Formula One may have been absent from Mexico for 23 years, but after 2015's triumphant return, it was as if we'd never been away. In Mexico, a Grand Prix is more than just a race. It's a celebration of speed and of bravery. There's nothing quite like the atmosphere in the stadium today. They'll be drowning out the cars with their noise as they make their way through on lap 1. We're almost ready to go then. This is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Sainz, Sergio Perez, and Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Alonso, Hulkenberg, and Iceman, Ocon, Magnussen, Max Verstappen, and Leclerc, Van Dorn, Ericsson, Brendan Hartley, and Lance Stroll, Grosjean, and Pierre Gasly rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
You should have some space going into the first corner, so try to keep it tidy.
Thanks for that, Jeff. No worries then. So we end up in 10th place on the grid. We probably would have ended up a little further down, I think, but some other people had penalties as well. Going for a 3-stopper today as we head toward lights out. There we are at the 5 red lights, revving up the engine. And away we go. Fernando Alonso and Niko Hulkenberg just in front of us, and Esteban Ocon from 11th on the grid coming up beside us there. We can see him just trying to sneak his nose in front of us as we head down the front straightaway here. Already to 200 miles an hour after that standing start. And there we go, a long dive up the inside of several people up to 7th place. We've got Daniel Ricciardo and Fernando Alonso with that dive, and Kimi Raikkonen now just ahead of us. We'd love to hold on to this position. This would be an excellent place to finish already. But it's a long race ahead yet. We have 36 laps to complete around this circuit. So that gives us lots of opportunity to look for other passing spots on these cars in front of us. Especially once we get back around to the front straightaway, we'll have a wonderful opportunity. Raikkonen and Sainz getting a little bit close together there. It looks like there was some contact and Sainz took evasive action as we head now into the S's section. This is going to be my main weak spot for this race. The cars that are able to stick with me on the straights will then have a good opportunity to out-accelerate me coming out of the S's here, because I simply can't hold the speed down as well as some of the other cars, and Fernando Alonso already starting to try to get close to me to make a dive up the inside into the stadium section. But we've held him off for the time being, and now we're looking to get on with this and catch up to Carlos Sainz just in front. He's a little far away yet. We're probably not going to get a whole lot of slipstream. We're just going to have to rely on the raw power of the engine itself, which is brand new. That Renault may be a bit worn out. We don't have DRS yet either. It's only lap 2 now, but we are just going to have to make do with what we have and try to catch up to them under the natural power, the natural pace of our car. Into the braking zone, coming in from very wide on that corner, trying to gape as much speed, of course, through the apex of corners as possible. But Carlos Sainz is still getting away a little bit. Fernando Alonso still sticking right up the back of us here, closing in as we head down this second straightaway. He thought about making a move there around my outside, but I kept wide to the racing line and he couldn't make it there. He is close enough, though, that he is going to definitely be a threat in the S's as we head towards them once again. It's a very quick lap here around the Mexican Grand Prix circuit, so because of that, the S's section will be happening quite a lot. We're just going to have to get used to it over the course of the race and see how well we can manage it. Fernando Alonso, though, with a much better grip in that McLaren behind us, is looking very aggressive. He's gaining on us as we head towards the corner here. He's not quite close enough once again. I'm hoping to keep it that way as we head on towards the end of lap 2 here. From here, though, again, like the US, it's been a difficult opening couple laps. We haven't been able to make very much progress. On lap 3, we are defending still. It's Fernando Alonso. This time is close enough to try to make a move up the inside. I go a little wide off the circuit, though, trying to defend. There's been no penalty for that, fortunately, and Fernando Alonso ducks back in behind us. There's not really enough room in that tight stadium section to make a pass. On lap 5, though, Alonso is no longer a threat as he's been passed by Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull. Coming into the back and forth section here just off the front straightaway, though, yellow flags as there's Kimi Räikkönen in the Ferrari suffering another DNF, parking up over on the left there. So, unfortunately, after they tried to make up for the bad Japanese Grand Prix in the US, they've had another bad weekend here. We're just going to have to see how well Vettel does, as he's up there still fighting with Valtteri Bottas, I believe, for the lead. Or perhaps he's in second place at the moment. Maybe he's fighting with Hamilton, I'm not certain. But Ricciardo now coming at us through the stadium section. Here he comes, or actually no, this time it's Niko Hülkenberg as Ricciardo, I believe. I don't know if he's been passed by Hülkenberg or if Ricciardo has dived in for his first pit stop. But Hülkenberg now is the threat. He hasn't made a move on me into the stadium section the way Ricciardo and Alonso have tried, but he's stuck close enough to me that now on lap 6 with the DRS available, he's going to be able to try to make a move on me, despite the lower power of the Renault engine, on the front straightaway here. For the time being, he's far enough behind us, but there's the proximity arrow in the bottom of the screen, slowly getting bigger. Fortunately, though, he's not quite close enough just yet, but that tells me that the Renault, even on a straight line oriented track like this, is a threat, which is not good news for us. We're going to have to fight very hard to hold on to our positions from here, it looks like. On lap 8, here he comes again, like a rocket up the inside. Look at the closing speed there. We're at 200. He's probably doing 210 right there. Into the braking zone, I can't quite hold him off. So he's got that position on us. We're at 7th position at the moment, and there's Ricciardo again back behind us. So it looks like he was just passed by Hülkenberg. He hasn't dived in for a pit stop yet. Speaking of pit stops, though, on lap 9, it's time for our first one. Getting off the Hypersoft tires and putting on the purple Ultra Softs. These are decent race tires. They should get us quite a long ways. I don't want to go to the hardest compound of tire because I'll still have to do a 2-stop even if I do those. We're held in the pit lane for a Haas, I think one of the 2 Renaults, or maybe it was the McLaren of Alonso, but we're out right behind our old enemy, Max Verstappen. Again, though, we've had our revenge. We're not going to fight him too hard, and he's got some pace today anyway, so he's just going to head off into the distance. On lap 11, coming around, we're actually met with our old friend Fernando Alonso, who's been released out of the pit lane very close behind us, even has a little bit of a look despite the cold tires up our outside into the first corner, but we've held him off there, and now we'll start to be able to gap that McLaren. I say that, but I think I may have spoken too soon, as this time, I defend the inside, he goes for the outside into the stadium section, but that's not really a very effective passing place, so I'm able to hold him off for now. Onto the front straightaway once more we go. Still in this back section is the most difficult area for us to try to hold everyone off. Fortunately though, Verstappen has actually been caught up behind Charles Leclerc here, so we've managed actually to catch up to him. That wasn't something I was expecting to do. So we are actually now close enough to try to make a move on both of them. We've got the DRS, and if we're able to get one of them, we should be able to get the other, as they are side by side now, Verstappen making a move on the Sauber. I'm going to follow him through here, with the raw pace of the car with DRS open is quite good. Out of the way! Feeling very confident there as I go through. But there we go, we've got the move done on both of them, and after the pit stop that does put us back up into 9th place. So we're back into the points after our first stop. We're looking good. And because there's only one DRS detection zone here, I think. Actually, there are two, rather. But I was still just behind Verstappen when I entered it, so I'm able to get DRS on that second straight away and work on pulling away a little bit. Hulkenberg is up next in the Renault. Looks like he is fighting. I can't see who that's with. That might be with that might be with Ricciardo. I'm not certain. But looks like Verstappen is still close enough to try to make a charge on me out of the S's if I don't get it right. I've gone wide there into that one, so he is right there behind us, and he's going to probably try to make a move. I want to cover off the inside. I move to a little bit, but Verstappen dives further to the inside. I just about force him off the track there. No penalties still, though. Actually, there's a warning, but we have kept him behind without serious consequence here, so that's good enough for us for the time being. Now we're just going to have to hold him off for the rest of the race, apparently. That might be a tall order, though. Here we go, up the inside again. Here he comes into the stadium section on lap 17 once more. He's very aggressive. For several laps, he's been harrying me into that section. I go wide here, but dive back to the racing line, cut him off. He's got to think better of going up the inside of me here. On the front straightaway on lap 20, he is still harassing me. Coming up fast behind, and Esteban Ocon, I think, in the Force India behind him, is also looking quite pacey. Not quite enough for Verstappen to get past me. Ocon, though, with the superior power of his Mercedes engine, is fighting with Verstappen now, and it looks like Ocon has made the move stick as we head up to the second straightaway. Very nice move from the Force India driver. There's still fighting going on behind me, though. Ricciardo has jumped into the pits. Here comes Ocon, very reminiscent of the start, up my inside, or outside rather. Verstappen just behind me as well, also looking to come in. Ocon is a bit less confident on the brakes than I am, and I'm able to go in much later and make the position back up. So we hold on to 6th position here. On lap 22, though, we've dived in for our own second pit stop, and here we are coming out now. Ricciardo's got out in front of us. Verstappen is still behind us, but now Gasly's just in front of us. Gasly doesn't concern me too much. That Toro Rosso has never been the best in a straight line. Stoffel Van Dorn, though, also is out of the race in his McLaren. On the next lap, on the front straightaway, have the DRS on Gasly. He doesn't really stand much of a chance. So there we go. Also, I misspoke earlier about our pit stops, because we now have the hardest compound tire on. So we've gone softest, medium, hardest compound tire up to try to get to the end of the race here. Just making sure that we have the tire life to do it. I think I chose this setup actually because it was allowing me to push a little more. I might not have even started on the Hypersofts now that I think about it. That may have been the 2-stop strategy, or the 3-stop strategy rather, that included the Hypers. Whatever the case is, we're now closing in on the back of Daniel Ricciardo, but Verstappen closing in on the back of us as well, so we're going to have to be very careful here. The two Red Bulls have caused us problems before, thinking back to Italy, of course. Ricciardo, though, is trying to make a move on the other Renault of Carlos Sainz, and Verstappen is now looking to get in on the action just behind us. We've formed up this neat 4-car train. Ricciardo is looking to go through. I'm looking to follow him, using the superior engine power and the slipstream. We're on the grass a little bit. There's a bit of contact with Sainz. Ricciardo locks up in front of us. Verstappen's still right there, just looking for an opportunity. We're still the 4-car train, but the leader has switched around. So we're following the Renault now of Carlos Sainz, looking to catch him. But through the S's here, we're not going to make a whole lot of progress. He defends the inside a little bit. I'm that close to him. But Verstappen is going to be the one who is looking for the most opportunity out of this. Ricciardo has got away because of Sainz's entry into the S's section, going narrow there on the entry. It's made him a bit slower. Ricciardo has pulled away. Sainz looking to catch him. Verstappen just behind me, not quite pacey enough to try to make a move here. Onto the front straightaway, though, is going to be interesting because there's a couple of us who are going to have DRS. I know I'm going to have DRS for Sainz. Will Sainz have it for Ricciardo? I don't think he's quite close enough. But will I, with the DRS, then be able to catch Ricciardo as well? I don't think I'll quite be close enough. Easily on Sainz, though, we've got a good launch. And with the DRS, raw engine power, we're able to make the move stick quite easily. Into the first corner, hard on the brakes. We've caught up a little bit to Ricciardo. We're going to try to set up a move on him for later in the lap. Not later in the lap, it looks like. It looks like on the next lap, lap 30. Here we go, sailing up past him. And there we go. Sainz is still fighting with Verstappen behind me, and now Ricciardo is going to be fighting with them as well. So it's going to slow them up a little bit and allow me to get away a little bit, hopefully. There is, however, a pretty big gap in front of us to Sebastian Vettel, who's actually had a pretty poor race from the time being when he was fighting with the two leading Mercedes. But here we are on lap 36, a couple laps later. The train is still pretty close behind us, but we are far enough ahead that we've secured 6th position. It's a good race for us.
Well done, good finish. You stepped up and achieved what we asked. Good job.
So as I say that, we can see the drivers coming out now to collect their trophies. It's yet more silverware to take back to their base in Brackley after another excellent Grand Prix.
It is an excellent 3rd place for Niko Hülkenberg. He's actually managed to get onto the podium for the first time in his career here in Mexico today. Lewis Hamilton has won and Valtteri Bottas has come home 2nd. Bottas extending his lead at the top of the championship. Vettel's running out of time to try to catch him. He's still relatively close. He can do it in the 2 remaining races if he wins, I think. But it's going to be tricky because with this, Mercedes have sealed the Constructors' Championship. Kimi has unfortunately been out a few too many times. Vettel's had a couple poor finishes. So Mercedes has clinched the Constructors, and now it's just a matter of the Drivers' Championship between Vettel and Bottas. We've lost out a little bit in our own driver's standings to Hülkenberg because of his excellent finish. But for the Constructors, for us, we've actually moved up a little ways. I believe ahead now of Force India, though I'm not certain. Whatever the case, it's not of huge concern to us. There's no way we're going to get much of anywhere in the championships, either one at this point in the season, especially if we can't get double points finishes because we're not really upgrading the car that much anymore. Even so, looking to the future, the next race is, of course, the Brazilian Grand Prix, the site of many an epic race. Citing, for example, 2007, 2008, and 2012 are some of my favorites. 2008, the scene of the greatest tragedy of my childhood, where Felipe Massa lost out to Lewis Hamilton in his 2nd year at Formula One. In any case, this has been a good race for us, and we're hoping for a good one next time as well in Brazil. Thanks for watching, as always, and have a nice day.